I've had this box of crew figures in my stash for a few years now. I've been meaning to use them as part of a diorama, but before I can get to that point I need to make sure I finish them. Hello everyone, I'm Matt, this is Model Minutes, and join me on the workbench as I build and paint the Commonwealth AFV Crew from Masterbox. For a deeper look inside the box of this particular kit, check out the dedicated unboxing video I already made on that topic. I have already finished a couple of the figures as well, so in this one I'll be focusing on the remainder of the set. As usual, my first steps will be to remove the parts that I need from the plastic sprues by cutting them away with my snippers or with a sharp knife. The moulding is fairly crisp and there isn't that much in the way of flash. The small areas that need attention though, such as the seam lines, can be carefully sanded away with a sanding stick or shaved off with a sharp knife. This can be a little time consuming just to make sure that all the parts look okay. Tamiya extra thin cement will be my glue of choice to build up the various figures. The figures only come with a single pose, so you must make sure you glue them together in the correct positions. This was relatively straightforward though, and I completed the assembly of the figures without any problems. There are a few little gaps and seams in places that need a little bit of attention, so in order to address these I'm going to use this Amomig putty surfacer in medium consistency to fill any of these areas and then carefully sand them nice and smooth. This will just help to make them appear as though they are a single sculpting and not made up of a number of components. And with that done, it's now time to prime. So first up, Army Painter Matte Black will be used on the 4 figures, and this should give a good base colour and surface coat for the next layer of paint, which is going to be a white primer from Army Painter as well. This one is going to be sprayed on from kind of above to give a zenithal highlight. This should add some contrast and shade to the figures, which I can use to give them a bit more of a 3-dimensional effect as I apply the paint. And speaking of paint, the first one I'm going to use is a speed paint. This is Peachy Flesh, and this was used on all of the fleshy areas of the figures. Being a speed paint, this means that it will add contrast and shade straight out of the pot, acting almost like a wash and a glaze at the same time. I don't really have any other appropriate speed paints though for the uniform colours, so what I'm going to do is mix together a variety of different acrylics and some acrylic thinner. This should help try and give the same kind of effect. For the main uniform colour of these figures, I'm going to go with this Vallejo khaki colour. This would be carefully painted onto the various uniform components of these different figures. Tan earth would be used to add a little bit of variation to this figure here, as he's wearing a jumper, which I thought would look good in a slightly different shade. English uniform would be painted onto their belts, their little pouches, and the holsters for their pistols. I do have a speed paint for broadsword silver, and this would be carefully applied to the can of food and the spoon that this figure is using. Umbral 32, which is a dark grey, would be used to highlight all of their headdress. And then Vallejo aluminium would be used to carefully pick out the badges on their berets. The final step was to add a little bit of highlighting to these figures. Pale sand was loaded onto a brush and then removed to allow me to create some dry brushing. Dry brushing is a technique whereby the paint is effectively not present on the brush feels dry, but there is a little bit of residue which catches on all of the raised details and adds highlight to them, whilst leaving all of the recessed ones in shade. Not a very complicated project, but I think at this stage I'm going to call them complete. And that's another build under the belt. I'd been kind of avoiding these for a few years. They'd been taking up space in my stash, and the diorama I had planned for them had never really got anywhere. Now that I've completed them though, it means that I can move on to potentially installing them into a diorama with an M3 Stuart which I had built a few years ago. Whilst I didn't go too complicated with the painting of these figures, I am generally quite happy with how they look. I think if I were to do a little review of these figures, I would say on the whole they are moulded to a nice quality, and you do get a reasonable number of figures inside of the box. You did also get another soldier and a camel figure, but I've already built those as part of another project. Whilst the tooling is not particularly recent, dating from 2010, I did find the sculpts to be quite nicely detailed, and they fit together quite well. There was a little bit of work to fill some gaps and clean up some seams, but when that was done, the figures looked good and convincing. Perhaps the price for these, which retail for around £15.99 at the time I'm making this video, is a little bit high, given that you only really get 6 figures and an animal. But it does seem to be fairly in line with the rest of the Master Box range. So if you can find them a little bit cheaper, that's definitely the route that I would take. And in the future, I could definitely consider getting some more products from the Master Box range to explore some more figure painting techniques. But for now though, I'm going to put these to one side and see if I can install them on my diorama that I've got planned at some point in the future. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of my quick project today, and if you have any other suggestions for possible builds I could complete on my channel. Don't forget that we do have a Model Minutes Model Club, and if you'd like to join the Model Club and get exclusive access to early videos and other perks, check out the links in the description. Massive thanks to these guys on screen for the extra support they give the channel, allowing me to create consistent content. I'd like to welcome our latest members to the club. They are Mr. Ed, Daryl Drury and Ryan Anderson. Thanks for joining us. Of course there are other ways to help support the channel as well, and again full information is below the video. The best way to support the channel for free though is by subscribing with notifications turned on so you never miss a modelling upload. Finally though, last thing to say is massive thank you to you for watching this one, and I'll catch you on the workbench again next time.